Good morning. It's Shannon and Emily here with Finding the Thing. And today it is September 11th. And we are going to talk about hot air balloon rides and
Yes.
exposure therapy. And the Queen of England has died.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Emily and I'm sorry. Go ahead, Emily.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, where were you on 9/11?
Oh gosh, 9/11, I worked in a hair salon and called Eclipse. And I remember I was driving to work at Eclipse and I heard the announcement or like the news. I heard like the breaking news on the radio
Mhm.
on the way there. And so I got there and I went up like in the salon, and then upstairs they had it on and everybody was kind of watching and listening. And I think we might have gone home early. I can't
Mhm.
remember like what happened the rest of the day then. I just
Okay.
remember, I really remember, I remember being there with Ashley. Um, yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I remember exactly where I was. I was in fifth grade. Um, and I remember all of these kids kept getting dismissed in the middle of the day. We weren't allowed to go out to recess.
mm,
And I remember I stayed at school the whole day, but then when I went home, I remember like trying to watch television after school, and every single channel, like literally not just news channels, but every single channel was about the attacks. And it was just, I remember feeling like, yeah, really scared. Um,
mhm,
yeah, it
yeah.
was a really eerie day.
It sure was. And I do remember that too with the news, like how it was just like we were just inundated with that for
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm sure it was more than a day,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but yeah, I remember that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I know so many people died, and we lost over, I think it was like over 400 police and
Mm,
firefighters in
yeah.
that. So yeah, I know a lot of people take time to remember.
Yeah.
They'll remember that today, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Hmm.
So um, and also we've had, the Queen of England died this week. Uh, forget which day it was. This is probably terrible. It might have been Thursday at this
Yeah,
point.
Wednesday or Thursday. I
Yeah.
don't recall for certain. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember reading she was ill, and then like it was like really quick, and then she was dead. So
Right. Yeah, and she was what, 96 years old?
yeah, so she lived a
Okay.
long life.
Yeah, almost a century. Gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I know she lost her husband, Prince Philip. I think was that a year ago now, or even longer.
Oh,
But
not sure.
okay, and he was 99, and
Okay.
so yeah, so I just kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. But I know that's such a huge thing, and so many people follow the royal family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So, Prince Harry now takes over.
Prince Charles.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so Harry and William's father.
Yes.
He's
Okay.
now the king, and yeah, and then I
Yeah.
guess when he dies, then one of them. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
It's so
It
confusing because we don't have the same system here. So
Yeah, it's so different. It's just
yeah.
so, yeah, it feels so foreign to think of like that's how a government
Mhm.
operates.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated by it just because we don't have it here. Like,
Right.
it's just so different. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have kind of been a little bit of a follower of the royal family, but so I probably know a little bit more than some, but
Yeah.
I'm not a
Certainly more than me.
I'm not a crazy fan or anything, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, um, so well, uh, should we start talking about our balloon ride?
Well, yeah, let me give some background
Okay,
information.
sure, yeah.
So I have never really thought about my fear of heights until like like at some point over the summer, I was on a date and someone asked me like what my biggest fear is. And I'm like, that's a great question. And I was like, well, without a doubt, heights. And this is something that I believe really developed in adulthood. I didn't really feel feel fearful of heights as a kid. I don't really remember that, but as an adult, I've had like a lot of difficulty with heights, like looking back. And yeah, I wanted to do something to face that because I think at this point, I can think of several instances where it's like impacted my quality of life or like impacted certain experiences. I felt like I was missing out. And I just felt like it presented as like a barrier in a lot of ways. And I didn't really realize that until I thought about it
Okay.
recently.
Can you think of anything that you have missed out on because of it?
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So like the last time I went to Hershey Park, I didn't get on a lot of rides because I felt very much like I was going to die. I did not like the height. I felt really miserable and I felt like embarrassed. I felt like everybody else was doing this. And then I felt like really insecure about it. Um, and really actually perplexed because it didn't bother me as a kid. So that happened. I went hiking at Rocky Mountain State Park or National Park in Colorado, and we're driving through the mountains, and I literally reclined the seat so I didn't have to look out the window and I couldn't like the views were magnificent, right? But like I couldn't
Yeah.
appreciate them because I was so terrified. And my friend was like, "Oh, look how beautiful this is." And I was like, "No, like I'm just gonna focus on one thing." Um, that really sucked because I wished I was able to really appreciate that. That's happened like in a lot of experiences, like whether I'm hiking, not getting close to the edge, or just not looking at certain views because I felt very much like I was going to die.
Mhm. Okay. Wow. So,
Driving over bridges didn't, I mean, recently I feel like I've been okay with that, but I used to like scream the whole way or avoid them.
okay. Scream.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am not making fun of you. I'm just asking. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it
Okay.
felt so distressing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, and I know this came up, like, I forget, we were looking for things to do for finding the thing,
Well,
right?
actually, no. I had liked well, kind of, because I
Yes.
was like on Facebook and I was just like liking possible events and I liked this fairy festival and then you were like, "Hey, I saw you liked this fairy festival."
Yes,
Like,
that's what it
what?
was. Yes.
And then it
And
like
then
could
yeah, and then I saw the Lancaster Balloon Festival. And I
yeah.
was like, hey, I saw the Lancaster Balloon Festival. What would you think about doing that? And you were like, oh my gosh, I have always wanted to do a hot air balloon ride.
Yes,
Like,
definitely.
oh, I haven't. And and here we were.
Yes. So like the timing I think was pretty cool.
Yeah. So this was,
Hmm.
yeah, this was awesome. So they gave us one free balloon ride. And so we would, certainly talk about our experience. And yeah, I think we want to give you guys a little bit of a history about hot air balloons and things. I mean, we are not experts here, but I think it would be helpful to give you a little information. Then we want to talk about our ride and we want to talk about Emily's fear some more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I will say I knew nothing, literally nothing about hot air balloons and what to expect
Same.
before we went on this ride. And then after the fact, I did a little research. And
Yeah,
so now I know a little bit more and we have
sure.
experience. So
Yeah,
um,
definitely. I mean, I even like considered and contemplated bringing a helmet and gripper gloves because I was just like, it felt like I probably wouldn't have done that, but I was like, well, it seems like it makes sense for protection. But like, yeah, I just didn't know what to expect about this whole hot air balloon.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So so should we talk about what the balloon, like the situation with the balloon first? Like maybe, so there's like a wicker basket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was literally wicker, like really heavy duty wicker, at least the
Like,
one that we were on. I did
yes.
read that they could be made out of aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
So the one we were in was really beautiful, heavy wicker. And it had compartments. And so we are posting photos of the balloon and the basket and different things on our Instagram. So you guys can check it out. But there were compartments on the basket or in the basket. So for us, there were 3 of us in our compartment.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, so we were in there, Emily and I were in there. I don't want to start talking about our ride, but we were in there with a third person. So it was me and Emily and this girl. And like, so we were like bumping bodies like the whole time. So
Yeah.
like it was tight.
It was. And at first I saw that and I was like, oh, like I don't know if I like that. Like, but I liked it because I felt more secure and that like it kept everything more like organized and you have more things to hold on to for
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
So
Because I think I expected it to just be this open basket, you
me
know?
too.
Yeah. So I thought we'd have space to like walk around or
Yes.
something. And so that was not the case. And now I don't know if all baskets are similar to this one, but I think once we learned how we were landing and things like that, I think it makes sense that there were these compartments and you were kind of confined in there.
Yeah, definitely. And just to give you guys like an idea, I think there was about like 12 or 13 people in the basket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what the limit is or if there's a certain weight limit or how that works, but and there were handles. So in each compartment then there, and I think I posted a photo of this, I'm not sure, but there are rope handles all along the sides.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we'll talk about landing them, but let's talk more about the actual mechanics, I guess, of hot
Mm-hmm.
air balloons. So yeah, I mean, so there's the balloon, which I think is called an envelope too.
Mm-hmm.
I read that. And then there's like cable wires that attach it with carabiners to the basket.
Yes. So it is like very secure.
Yeah. And then I think at the top of the balloon, there's like an aluminum, I think it's made of aluminum, like some sort of ring.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read that as well. And so I'm not sure what that does, just kind of creates a form maybe to keep
Right.
it formed. But balloons can come in any shape, like these envelopes or balloons, they can come in any shape. When I was researching, I saw some in the shape of like a rectangle, like a flag, all kinds of shapes. So now I don't know if they fly as well or
As
how that works.
high.
Yeah,
Yeah. Some of
yeah.
that seems a bit odd. Like I feel like a rectangle would be, I mean, maybe it'll be more difficult. And
Yeah.
then what is the material of the envelope or the balloon? It's like what, nylon or?
Nylon. And then I read, so the inside of the balloon is flame resistant fabric. One of that was called Nomex. So that I guess is like a type of flame resistant
Yes.
fabric. So, which is actually good to know because also I really didn't know about hot air balloons, and I feel kind of silly that I didn't know more, but there is this liquid propane that is used to create a flame. And there's like these burners in
Mm-hmm.
there as well that um creates this open flame. And sorry, I have to sneeze. Excuse me.
You
And I'm not sure where I was going with this, but there is all of this heat and all of this flame that is happening. And so I would imagine you do want flame resistant fabric. And
yeah.
I mean, I found found myself, and Emily, you were closer to the flame than I was.
Yes.
It was so hot. And
And yeah, like my arm, because they're in our compartment was closest, so there was like a separator. I had my arm on it, and then it was like bright red because it was just like so much heat. And then it seemed fine for a while, but yes, it was very, very hot. I mean, I was so sweaty because I was anxious, but then so sweaty because of the heat. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I found myself doing this, the ones that are watching this on video, but the whole time I was like worried that what I'm doing right now is like rubbing my head, because like
Yeah.
I was like, is my hair getting singed? Like, is my hair
Yeah.
okay? And I mean, I really, the heat was so intense that I felt like, is my hair getting fried?
Yeah.
And so I just didn't have the expectation that I was going to feel the amount of heat. And I'm sorry, what were you going to say,
Well,
Emily?
yeah, I thought since we were going to be higher up, maybe it would be a little chilly,
Yes, I brought a sweater.
perhaps.
I brought a sweater in my bag because
Yeah.
I thought, oh, it'll be cool up there. Like, I had no idea. I think I might have thought that flame was, I didn't even know about the flame, I'll be honest, but like maybe I thought it was like less
I thought
close
it'd be
to us.
higher up. Yes. Like
Yeah,
I thought it would be
yeah.
higher up, not as close to us. I mean, at one point I did get a little droplets of maybe it was some kind of liquid coming from it. So maybe it was like a little bit of liquid propane or something.
Yeah.
But
Who knows?
yeah, it was
That
very loud.
It was very loud. Yeah. So it's called a blast valve. And then there's like a whisper valve. So I imagine we had a blast valve. I don't know if there was whisper as well, but it was so loud. I mean, the pilot had earplugs in. I feel like I would have loved to have known that we could bring earplugs. I mean, it
Yeah.
felt very, very loud. Yeah, it was just very loud.
Yeah, it was very loud. I mean, I think because I was heightened because I was anxious. Like when it would go off, I would just like flinch
Yeah,
sometimes because it was, and I'm typically not bothered by loud noises. But yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I imagine like that guy the pilot, our pilot, Kirby Cop, was awesome. Such
Yes.
a nice gentleman.
Yeah.
And he's been a hot air balloonist, that's what they're called, since 1982. But just give him a shout out. He was great. But I mean, I would imagine if you're not wearing earplugs and stuff like that, that you have like hearing damage
Oh, yeah.
for sure. Like I felt like I wanted earplugs. So
Yeah.
yeah. So there's that. And what else do we want to say about um the balloons, the actual I know I read that like hot air balloons can like fly really high, like at really high
Yes.
altitudes. And we were at 3,000 feet. And I read that the world record for a hot air balloon is like 68,900 and I think it's 86 feet. So I can't imagine that. And I assume it didn't have people in it. I don't know because
Yeah,
like,
I feel like how would you be alive? I feel like your
yeah,
eardrums would bust out. Like,
yeah.
I don't
So
know. That seems
I,
so scary.
yeah, that's really, really high. So that's my only other info that
Well,
I
yeah.
have to
And we
share.
were at 3,000 feet and we were in Lancaster County. And because we were so high, we could see the skyline of Philadelphia, like in the horizon. That was super cool. So we could see very far. It
Okay.
was, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they were serious about that. You felt like you
Yeah.
could see?
Yes, I could
Okay.
definitely see it if you looked close enough in the horizon. You could
Okay.
certainly see it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we rode the balloon with, I think it was Lancaster Balloon Rides, I think is the name of the company.
Yes, Lancaster Balloon Rides.
Yeah, and it was through Lancaster Balloon Fest, which is this coming weekend, the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And we will be there on the 16th, probably all evening if anybody wants to meet us. Or
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some beautiful events there. And
Probably delicious food, I would think.
I would think, and there's live music and stuff like that, and events for kids and all of those things. So yeah, but I don't know. I think,
Oh, so maybe, okay, so one thing that really threw me off was how to enter. Well, so the basket
oh,
itself.
yeah,
Yeah, like the basket itself, I was imagining perhaps there would be like a gate that would like open and you would just like walk in.
me
And it was
too.
very
Yeah.
different. They like when we were in the field preparing, getting the balloon ready or whatever they needed to do, they had it on its side and they were like, all right, we're gonna get in. And it was like flipped over on its side. And then people had to like hoist
Climb in.
themselves.
Yeah, climb in and lay on your side. Like slide in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go back real quick, Emily. I
Sure.
did want to talk, I definitely want to talk about this, but there was some information you were talking about with balloon accident.
Oh, okay.
I wanted
So
to, you were telling me earlier, and I think I wanted to share that because, like, just because of your fear too. And
yes.
I imagine a lot of people are afraid to do stuff like this. So I thought we could share that information too before we get into like the whole ride and our experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I did not look up this information prior to my ride because like one thing, like when you're doing exposure work is to try not to engage in like
Yeah.
safety behaviors, which would be like I had an urge to like overly Google stuff to really try to get the facts, but I didn't want to do it because I just wanted to go and have this experience. So afterwards, this morning actually, I was just kind of curious, like how many balloon rides even occur. Because one thing that I did hear and I saw in some reviews and what folks were saying is, I guess hot air balloons aren't that common. So people were driving from all over, like 5 to 6 hours. So yeah, it's not really that common. So there's about 3,000 hot air balloon rides annually across the world. And of those 3,000, there are about 20 accidents per year. Typically, they do not result in death. They can result in like injury, but it's incredibly rare for there to be an accident. So I think that provides some perspective, which is helpful.
Yeah. Well, and I do think, like even the girl we were in our compartment with, she had driven 6 hours, 6.5 hours for
Mhm.
this balloon ride. And I think another thing to note is that the balloon rides get canceled pretty easily because the
Mhm.
weather has to kind of be perfect. The wind, the clouds, the everything has to really be perfect conditions for this type of activity.
Yeah, so that's like, I mean, that's reassuring to know that they take that very seriously and
Mhm.
like Shannon said, it has to be really good conditions, it has to be like very safe. So I imagine that's probably why there aren't as many accidents because they do that screening beforehand.
Yeah, and you have to call and check to make sure the flight is happening and all of that. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Um, so sorry, Emily. So well, do we want to talk about there? I mean, there were just so many aspects to this ride that I kind of want to take people through.
Yeah,
I also want to talk about your fear and how you managed it too. And should we talk about them separately a little bit?
sure. Yeah,
I,
that works.
yeah. So yeah, getting in. So getting there. So we got to Lancaster County Bird in Hand, I believe it's called.
Hmm.
And so then you have to sign a waiver. Of course, any of these types of
Right.
activities, you're signing your life away. I might die, I might get injured, and I won't sue anybody, basically, is what you're signing away. Did that bring you any anxiety? No.
Actually, no. Like when we got there, I didn't even feel anxious. I just had to really like use the bathroom. I had to pee really bad, so I wasn't really thinking about that. And then the waiver, surprisingly, no.
Okay. I think I was surprised when we got there too, the amount of people that were there that were going on a balloon ride too.
Yeah, because there was, I would say about like 30 people.
Yeah. So, and then there were like 3 vans with trailers attached, which housed the balloons.
Hmm.
And so then we were driven to another location. So we got there, it said in our information that our flight would take off at 5:30. And that did not happen. We were driven about like 20-30 minutes
Hmm.
away from the location where we were. And then it was like another at least 30 minutes of prep of the
Yeah.
balloon. before we took off. So I think
Yeah.
we took off at like 6:30.
Yeah, so we got at the location at 5, then we left from that location at 5:30. Yes, then that other 20-30 minute drive, which was beautiful because we could see like through Lancaster County, all the farms and stuff. And it was a beautiful day, but yeah, a lot of driving and then prep.
Yeah. Yeah. So they get this basket out. I just want to say before we talk about getting into the basket, they get this basket out. And I was like, wow, Emily, look at that basket. It's awfully small. Because I thought, oh my gosh, I thought it was going to be, I don't know, just bigger.
Yes, it's like the size of a hot tub, kind of.
Yes, like a 4-person hot tub
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. It was very, very small. Um, um, which makes sense, I guess, like having done it now, it makes
Yes.
more sense. But like when I saw it, I was like, wow, that's what we have to get into.
Yeah. And then, yes, and then our group was like about 13 people, and I was like, oh my gosh, how is this gonna work? But it did work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're really in there tight with people.
Yeah,
And
you are. And like, I'm glad I was with like Shannon, obviously, because I know her. And then we were with another woman, which was like very helpful because she was super cool.
yeah,
Um,
very
yeah,
nice. And I'm thankful we were with her too. She was very nice and
yeah,
it felt very comfortable. But my gosh, I mean, we were close. We were really, really close the whole time.
yes. And we were sweaty, so it was just like
Yes.
a lot going on. And one thing that surprised me too was the floor of the basket. They had like padding, or I'm not exactly sure what was underneath the padding, but it was very soft. So
Mm.
like that felt weird. I mean, it wasn't good or bad. It's just not what I expected.
Yeah, what I noticed about the floor was it was a basket. And
Yeah.
so I felt like, oh, I could put my foot through this part or
Yes.
something. But there was like something over it. It didn't feel dangerous or anything to me.
No.
It was just okay, it's not like the floor
Bungee.
of the basket was like different material. It was still a basket.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, like Emily was saying, like, yeah, they requested some people climb in while the basket, so they had the basket on its side, and then some people climbed in and had to be like laying down. And so that was weird. And then they eventually flipped that up.
I mean, they were laying like that for about 10 minutes at least.
At
Yeah.
least. Yeah. And then yeah, it was just, I don't know. And
Yeah,
then
then we got in with like a step stool. They put a step stool on the inside of the basket and then a step stool on the outside. And then we were the last ones to like climb in, which even that felt a little like challenging.
like it was like a three or four step ladder to climb in, and then inside there was like a 2-step like little step stool or something that you could like climb down onto. So it
Yeah.
was pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It came up to about my chest, like the actual side of the basket.
Yeah. So I think like just for people to note that, like, if you have limitations physically,
Yeah.
like it might be difficult. And now I imagine like if you were disabled in some way, like maybe even in a wheelchair, like people could probably lift you into it. But I
Yeah.
also think like there's this process for like landing where when you're in your when you're in your compartment, you have to turn to face the center and lean towards the center and
Mm-hmm.
hold these rope handles and squat. And so there's just certain things that like you have to be able to do physically,
Yes.
I think. So none of that, I do just want to say, none of that was indicated when you are signing up for this ride.
Right. Yes, I felt a little caught off guard. And even the actual landing, I mean, I guess I like most people might know or like recognize that like the landing might not be smooth, but it was like very like bumpy. Like you really did have to be in like a good position because there was a lot of back and forth
A lot of
swinging.
jostling, and we were
Yes.
kind of on our side when
And
we
then boop,
landed.
flipping over, like not over, but
Yeah.
like to side to side.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a soft landing.
No.
But I mean, we did like a practice landing. He called it a touch and go.
Which was
Um,
cool.
that felt better
Much
than the
smoother.
actual landing. So, and then we did like where we grazed corn. We were in a cornfield and we grazed through that. And that was actually, I thought that was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, it was just very cool. I just felt like I would have liked, and maybe this is because we're like anxiety people, I would have liked more information. And, maybe everyone else was like, oh, this is fine. We don't need
Right.
all of the details. But like for me, I wish I would have known I was going to be sweating or
Well, just like an outline, like, hey, like right when we got there, like, hey, this is kind of what's gonna happen, even if it was
gonna
just like a
drive
5 minute.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
like we're gonna be driving for this period of time, we're gonna go to this field, we're gonna set up, we're gonna be in the air this long, then we're gonna land at a different location than
Yeah.
where we took off.
That was also, yeah. So like the owners like on the phone while we're in the air talking to some guy in the van who I guess is following us around and saying, hey, go to that door, go to that house there. Hey, get to that house about 200 feet there. Go to that house and see if we can land in their field, And so I think just from our perspective, it sounds like, oh my gosh, is this an emergency? Like,
Yeah,
it didn't sound like, and I think it probably wasn't. It probably
right.
was like, this is what they do and this is how they land every time. But just hearing someone like directing someone like that, like I felt like, oh my God, what's happening? Is something wrong? Like,
Yeah, well, because I
so
did say like I was like, well, what happens if they don't answer at the door?
yeah,
Like if they're not home, and then somebody who was I'm not sure if they worked for the company or if they were just like a passenger that knows about this. They were just like, oh, well, we just go to the next farm, and like it's really not that big of a deal. And I don't know if Shannon, I don't think you shared this, but there's somebody driving. So we're in the hot air balloon, and then the owner is driving in a truck below us, and we're kind of following them, like and then that person's gonna get out of their truck and just like knock on the door and be like, hey, can we just land in your field?
I see. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did say that. I think
Oh,
the
okay.
person he has like somebody driving. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it worked out, but it that did feel like, yeah, a
Mhm.
surprise.
But I guess maybe people in that area are used to it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think
If they're
maybe.
doing these balloon rides.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
happened. And then they pack up the balloon and yeah.
That's like another 25 minutes or so.
Yeah. And then the drive back and yeah. So I mean, you do need to allot a good amount of time for something like this. Yeah.
Yes.
But let's talk about the time in the air and all
Yes.
the good aspects of it. I think
Oh
we're
my
just,
gosh.
yeah, because it was like really amazing. And just well, at least for me, it was really amazing. And the view of Lancaster County was so cool.
Yeah.
And I have such wonderful photos and I don't mind looking over and seeing, the ground beneath us. I love that actually. So yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, it was really beautiful and to see the sun and it like literally the weather was so perfect on Friday. So like the sky was so clear. We saw the most beautiful sunset
Mm.
and I mean it was gorgeous and just looking down at Lancaster, it honestly looks like a quilt the way like all of the pastures and fields and farms are. It was incredible. So
Mhm.
beautiful. And we even saw like I saw so many like horses like running through fields. And that was like a really cool perspective to see all of that.
Yeah, I saw some cows at one point and they looked like just little miniatures. It was so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also remember seeing like clotheslines with just like lots of clothing blowing in the wind and I don't know. It was really beautiful and at one point Shannon and I were just like the only thing we could hear, it was like so quiet, but just like some dogs barking.
Yeah, that was really cool too. Um, So yeah, let's talk about once you got on the balloon.
No, I'm just kidding. So like once I'm honestly, this like shocked me. Because I was anticipating that I was going to be having a really hard time, but I was like, I literally did not feel anxious when we got there, when we signed the death waiver or like whatever the waiver is, like in case you get injured or die, you can't sue. Didn't feel anxious, like um watching everything get set up. Felt a little anxious getting in the hot air balloon, like in the basket, but like once we started rising, I was like, okay, I need to go to the center. I do not want to be by the edge. Then it started to feel real.
Yeah, I noticed that. I could see it, like that you were feeling uncomfortable at that point for sure. Yeah.
Yes, because I think, yeah, like I obviously was getting really scared. I was beginning to sweat.
Mhm.
And then I wasn't as panicked
I
as,
saw your hands sweat.
yeah.
I did. I forget what we were doing at that point, but I saw your hands sweat. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that was like the biggest thing was my hands were sweating, and then I was just looking for things to hold on to. And I
Mhm.
wanted to be in the center away from the edge. And everyone, like most people, like, wow, this is so beautiful. This is so great. And I was like I just want to live.
Aw.
Like, I mean, and then I did like eventually like kind of loosen up and like could enjoy it. But I was like, I did fixate or like just have my vision, like just look at one thing because looking around at first was really bothering me.
Yeah. Well, I know like at one point I was like, come on out here, Emily. Come
I
on.
was
And
thinking to
I know
myself, like, hell no, like you can enjoy that, but like I'm fine right
I'm
here.
like, you have to see this. And then you did. And
Yes.
how did you feel about that? Like when I was like, lean over and just look at this. It's so cool.
I was like, so cool. Just kidding. No, I did think it was beautiful. I did think it was very gorgeous. I'm glad I did it. Um, but I did feel uncomfortable, especially the view that I found most troubling was like the bottom of the basket and then just seeing everything below it. But so I mean it was good to do that because I know you had me do that a couple of times. It encouraged me. So I'm glad I did. I would have certainly regretted not doing that.
Sure.
Yeah. But I felt most, this is so weird, and I did not expect this. I felt most troubled by looking up.
Okay. Yeah, you did say that.
I was like, oh my gosh, I can't look up. And then like I purposely did look up to like do
Yeah.
it, but I don't know why that bothered me so much. I'm like, oh my God, the open sky. And then it was like
Yeah.
that stressed me out. Like just the open sky looking up just really bothered
Okay.
me.
Do you think that also maybe made you feel like unbalanced or something too, or no?
Um, Surprisingly, I didn't feel unbalanced until we did like the touch and go, and then we were going back up, and it was kind of swinging, like
Mhm.
not swinging intensely, but just kind of like unsteady. But no, I don't. I think it was just maybe it was just like looking up, and like that's not a perspective I've seen before, like that
Okay.
close and being open in the unknown. I
Yeah.
don't think I liked that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I think you did great. I mean, I really thought you did a great job.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I was surprised that you weren't more anxious on our way there and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, before we left, like before I left my apartment, I was like, I wasn't feeling too like my heart had been racing, and I was like, well, this is it. Um, like I had the urge to compulsively ask people for some prayers and stuff. Like,
Okay.
and I was feeling anxious, like, well, I don't think I need to bring a towel to like contain my sweat. I don't really need a helmet. I don't really need gloves. I don't need all these prayers. And
Yeah.
then like after I left my apartment, I was okay. But just I think the anticipation of it was a lot. But yeah, I wasn't as anxious when we got there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would highly recommend it at least one time in your life, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I do think it's like an experience to have. It's very, very cool.
So
Um,
cool. And like I was like, wow, like I did that. Like, wow, we just rode a hot air balloon, like a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity.
yeah, yeah. It was so cool. And I know I'm really looking forward to the Lancaster Balloon Fest to kind of see, like, they do this balloon glow um in the, I think it's the sunset kind of thing. I don't really know exactly what all they do, but at the festival. And so I think we'll get to see a lot of the balloons, and that just seems really cool to me.
Yeah, so beautiful. And we didn't mention this, but there were two other hot air balloons at the same time as us in the
Yes.
air. So that was so beautiful to watch those balloons out in the distance and then the sunset. It was just like so breathtaking. And there was one point where one of the hot air balloons was going very low, but I guess
Yeah.
because of the perspective, we were up high. It was an optical illusion, but it didn't
That's
feel
what we
like.
were told. So we were like, really? Is that really an optical illusion? I mean, they flew low the whole time, like what
Yeah.
looked like low to us. So
Because I was concerned about them hitting like maybe going like landing in a parking lot or hitting the top of a
yeah,
building, but it
they
I,
didn't.
no, they didn't, and they were totally fine, but it really could have been just, I guess,
Pers-
looking down, it looks so
Yeah,
different. Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting. I know I took a lot of photos of them because
Yeah.
they were so low, or appeared so low. So it was really, really cool. So
Yeah, so beautiful, so cool. And our pilot was so kind. And even the
oh,
other people in the basket with us were very cool. And it was just like, it was a great
yeah,
experience.
yeah. Melissa from West Virginia that we met.
Yeah, I
She
drove
was,
6 hours.
yeah, so she was cool. And yeah.
And I was reading on the reviews for the Lancaster Balloon Rides, like people, yeah, drive from South Carolina, people drive hours and hours. So I think it
Wow.
is such a cool thing that we have the opportunity, we have access to this in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And such a beautiful area to, like, to be able to see
Yeah,
from the balloon. It's very cool. So
yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Um, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about, we're getting into fall too. Switch topics here and kind of as we end. We're getting into fall, and um I'm seeing kind of like, advertisements for fall related activities, festivals and things. And we have the upcoming OCD walk on October 1st. So please support us and come out and join us on that day if you can, if you're local. I will post that link again in the show notes. But just back to, fall. And I was thinking yesterday, like, about things I like to do in the fall. And um, I like to go apple picking and pumpkin picking. And at one point, I had a gourd party
Oh,
where I got a bunch of dried gourds and we did gourd painting, gourd bowl painting. So there's this place called Meadowbrook Gourds, and they're just awesome. Um, so I don't know. I was just thinking about that and thinking about the cooking that I like to do in the fall. Yesterday I made some chili,
okay.
and sometimes I like to incorporate pumpkin into things
Oh,
a little bit
yes.
more. So I do make a pumpkin chili and a pumpkin mac and cheese.
Oh, that sounds really good. I've never heard of that.
Well, it's my recipe, and that I created myself. And it does have a little bit of like cayenne pepper in it, so it's got a little spice.
Okay.
It's pretty delicious. I usually
Yeah.
make it at Thanksgiving, or if I have a fall event. So I don't know. I was just thinking about some of that stuff yesterday.
Yeah, it is that time of year and it's been like cooler out, which is nice.
Yeah, I do feel like, it's been warm, like a little warm during the days, and then it does feel like fall,
Hmm.
like it's starting. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like fall. It's
Mm,
exciting. It's my favorite time of year.
yeah. And what is it that you like to do in the fall?
Um, just be outside. I think central Pennsylvania, seeing all the foliage. It's really just so beautiful. I love how all the trees look. Like to go hiking. Pumpkin picking is fun. I don't like pumpkin carving. I feel like that's a lot of effort for
Okay.
something that doesn't look that cool.
Yeah.
I do like some spooky stuff.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like some haunted stuff is fun. Um, my birthday's in October, so it's like
Yeah.
a big perk. I do like Halloween. I do like dressing up and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's fun. I like dressing up too. It's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
fun time. So awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And even fall camping and bonfires. I love that stuff.
yeah. Yeah, it is nice. So, okay. Well, um, we will be back next week and we'll discuss the Lancaster Balloon Fest experience. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so please give us a shout out, rate us, follow us, all of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
if you guys have any ideas for episodes, we would love to hear it. Okay. Thanks for
Okay.
listening.
Thank you.